Right now at 6, the county agency charged with solving the homeless crisis hit with a scathing report.
This audit is unmistakably bad.
So as one commissioner calls those findings the tip of the iceberg, what's the path forward?
A stolen car found with everything missing.
Someone, has my registration, has my business cards, knows a bunch of super personal information.
The evidence of a joyride left behind by the suspected thieves.
And later, anglers rejoice over a salmon surge.
It's been a good run. It's been a great run this year.
We ask what's driving colossal schools of Chinook up the Columbia.
Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. We begin with that report highly critical of how Multnomah County's agency tackling homelessness is operating.
From late payments to poor coordination, Blair Best breaks down what auditors found and how leaders are now pushing for change.
First up on the Multnomah County Commissioner's agenda Tuesday, an audit of the Joint Office of Homeless Services. That's the group jointly run by the county and City of Portland, formed in 2016 and tasked with coordinating funding and a response to homelessness. Tuesday morning, county commissioners heard from the county auditor about the program.
To make sure that we are being accountable to taxpayers, we are being really effective with the work that happens here at the county.
The audit revealed communication problems and a pattern of late payments to providers. And it's not for a lack of money. This fiscal year, more than $300 million is budgeted to move through the joint office. Auditors recommend they improve their finance department.
Delays in payments create a hardship for service providers and ultimately put the populations they serve at risk.
The county's audit team interviewed 48 homeless service providers, or nonprofits, that the joint office works with.
And in our survey, about 2 out of 3 providers surveyed believe that the joint office did not do a good job of coordinating service providers. Next slide, please.
They also found no clear path for people to move from the streets into housing. Despite the name Joint Office, it's a very disjointed network.
People are often required to interact with multiple systems. They can be eligible for services in more than one system, and each system has its own application process and assessment.
It's a struggle that you don't understand until you're in it.
Iridessa has tried getting into housing 5 times in the past 3 years.
And then they reach me out to somebody else. I'm like, well, now I have 2 ongoing programs, so 2 different people, and I don't know what to do.
Joint Office Director Dan Field, who has only led the office for 4 months, admits they could do better.
The findings can be hard to hear. Hard for you all as leaders of the county. Hard for taxpayers who are wondering how the dollars are spent effectively.
But he argues the audit doesn't cover everything they do.
I also want to acknowledge a lot of good work happened last year. As one very specific example, we prevented evictions in 5,300 households.
An achievement Commissioner Sharon Myron pushed back on.
This audit is unmistakably bad. We get evidence of how awful things really are, and then the county pivots to say, but look over here, and points to a little number. What's at the heart of the problem is the lack of a plan.
A plan to help people like Iridessa.
Like, I want to get clean and stuff, but the programs out here are rough.
I hope we recognize the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg this audit has revealed, and explore the full iceberg before it sinks all our efforts to eradicate homelessness in this county.
I mean, there's an image for you. Okay, Blair. Sharon Myron there has been talking about the lack of a big picture coordinated plan since she ran for county chair last year and lost. Can you help clear this up once and for all? Is there a plan, or is it a patchwork?
So simply put, there is no concrete plan. And keep in mind, this audit had a limited scope. Now, next up, there's a second audit that's going to look at the data the Joint Office collects and what it does with it.
So Blair, if the Joint Office is so disjointed, as the auditor said, why is the city still funding it?
So it's fair to say that that partnership is also on shaky ground. You may remember back in June, the city agreed to provide funding for 12 more months, and it's unclear if the results of this audit will impact impact that relationship moving forward?
We will see. Thank you, Blair.
Yeah, let's get to your headlines now. After more than a decade in office, Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum announced she will not run for a fourth term. Rosenblum became Oregon's first female AG back in 2012. In her statement, Rosenblum said the office belongs to the people of Oregon and that every state agency can benefit from new leadership and energy.
We are working to learn more about a man who was killed while riding his bike in North Portland early this morning. It happened just before 6 on North Portland Road between Columbia Boulevard and Marine Drive. Officers say the cyclist was hit by a vehicle. That driver did stay at the scene and is cooperating with investigators. So far, police are not releasing the name of the victim.
Well, spray paint on Portland highway signs has left some of them virtually unreadable. We told you last month how ODOT ran out of the $2 million it put aside to pay contractors to clean up that graffiti. So we checked back in today and we learned ODOT maintenance crews now have to be the ones to remove the paint. They're going to focus on the ones they say that could create safety issues.
These signs are crucial to making sure people can get around on the roads. This is not just a game out there. We've got to make sure that these roads are clear and specific so that people can get around on the highways.
ODOT says crews have to balance that with other projects like fixing potholes, so cleanup is going to take a bit longer.
And an update out of Happy Valley tonight where investigators say they have found no evidence of asbestos after a former fiberglass plant burned down. That fire sparked early Saturday morning in a building on Oddie Road already slated for demolition. An apartment complex was evacuated due to asbestos concerns. Residents were allowed back Sunday. Again, no evidence of asbestos. Investigators say they believe the fire was set intentionally.
I'm Matt Safino. Boy, what a great day we had today. The clouds moved off, left us with a clear sky. You can see the Three Sisters from our camera at Timberline Lodge in the Mount Hood National Forest. Only 48 up at Timberline, but there is eventually going to be cooler and wet weather coming back to the northwest, right, as we head into the change of seasons. It's not that far off either. The change of seasons, of course, happens on Friday night at 11:50. Summer ends, fall begins. And right after that, we're going to see the warm, dry weather end and wet weather return. At that time, as we head into the beginning of fall, the sun will be directly over the equator, meaning the sunrise will be due east and the sunset due west, and will be close to even number of hours and minutes of daylight and nighttime on that day. Close, but not exactly because of the Earth's atmosphere. So showers overnight tonight, late tonight, tomorrow morning, not a big deal. We're going to have a really beautiful afternoon tomorrow, a little bit cooler. The week will end with very warm weather, in fact, 80 degrees by Friday, but then it looks rainy next week. And beginning Sunday night into Monday, look at how the rainfall amounts just tick up here as we go through early next week. We could see our first substantial rain since June. Guys?
Change, it is a-coming. Thank you, Matt. We want to show you surveillance video now of some suspected thieves in action. It's from a local business that make bike parts that says it's been targeted twice. Our China Green is there in Northwest Portland. Let's take a look and see what happened. China, take it away, please.
So the kicker here is they don't make bikes. Like you said, they make parts. Specifically, they make bearings. So when you're thinking about thieves coming in and stealing bikes, you think there'd be a bunch of bikes everywhere, right? Well, wrong. So in this facility, this is where the bikes were. They were hung up as pieces of art. They're very expensive and valuable pieces of bikes that have been collected over the years. 2 of those were stolen, so now it's clear because now they have them locked up. But if you follow me through these doors, right up those stairs, the second floor there was another bike on display. That was stolen Friday. The other 2 were stolen last month. But the GM thinks that this was a targeted attack because you would walk right past or right under this one if you didn't know what you were looking for. But take a look at the security footage of the thieves. This is the most recent theft that happened on Friday, I mentioned. They seem to be in no hurry whatsoever stealing this one. Now, sure, product can be replaced, but General Manager Chris Badsall says they weren't just bikes.
All right, we lost China there, but he compared it to somebody breaking into the Serena Williams building on Nike's campus, taking a pair of shoes on display worn by Serena. Yeah, you can physically replace the shoe, Laurel, but not the Serena shoe. The family says it's an incredible culture there. It was created over the last 4.5 decades. Take a listen.
As soon as you start barricading doors and putting bars and start doing all this stuff, if you got to put cameras, I mean, there's a reason why we don't have cameras in certain areas, because we're like, I don't want it to feel like Big Brother's watching everybody, man. That's not what we're doing here. So if we got to go to those extremes, you're like, is this the right place?
You know, he says he doesn't want to move the business out of the city, but the past month has put that thought into his head for the first time due to what's going on in the city. You know, take a good look now at your screen. Here are the 3 bikes that were stolen, and Envy, Moots, and Cielo. They are prototype and custom bikes, and Chris says he doesn't want them replaced. He wants them back. It sounds like they really can't be replaced, so if you've seen them, let police know. They did file a police report. Call Portland Police if you know anything about this crime.
Just another business grappling with the reality, right? Twice in just a number of months there.
And you're